All right, my friends, a quick one today to show a live use of the Petri Alt-F4 Unstuck mechanic that I think is probably the best way to save your hardcore character's life. So I've been farming a lot of ZG Crocs lately on my Alt Mage, and by the way, this is the third level 60 Jeff X on my hardcore server Defias Pillager. The first died in Zul'Farrak to a disconnect while I was farming zombies. The second one is dead here in ZG right at the spot I'm going to show me Petri out of in a second. So anyway, I made 3 mistakes in this run. The first 2 are related to the fact that I need a high armor value because I was going to run through a pack of Crocs and I need to stay mounted. So first of all, I should have had ice armor instead of mage armor up. And second, I should always have an elixir of superior defense running, and I didn't. So that's I should have around 2,000 armor to mitigate the damage of these Crocs against my shield. In this case, without the armor buffs, I make the jump, which incidentally is where missing that is what led to me killing my last mage here. But I get dismounted and dazed by these Crocs, and then on top of that, I actually miss the jump around the corner. I need to jump just as I hit the light section on the wall, and I did not. So basically, it's right there I decide to Petri. Behind me is 3 packs, so from 16 to 20 Crocs that will kill me pretty much instantly. So I Petri, I see the debuff pop up on my screen, or the buff, and a second later, my Petri counter is at 58, and boom. I've just Alt-F4'd, I closed the client, and now we're looking at the other client that I was grouped with, only on the same screen. I'm still seeing the Petri tooltip just because my buttons are in the same spot on that client too, and my mouse was over that spot. So now this was where it's interesting. My understanding, and still my position, is that it always takes 50 seconds for your character to be logged out of the game after either an Alt-F4 or a disconnect. However, we know because of some testing that the game treats Alt-F4 slightly differently, and in this case I saw my character go offline almost instantly in my chat frame and my party frame. However, I would never rely on that, and I assume that Jeff X is still there in the game, there in ZG, getting beat on by Crocs in Petri for another 50 seconds, and of course Petri lasts for 60 seconds. Now, despite seeing my character go offline right away, exactly 50 seconds after I'd Alt-F4'd, I see that I leave a custom channel that I was in, and that's also the first time I was able to see my character on this website. So this is the Blizzard Unstuck character service site, and it lists every eligible character that account has across all servers. So there's a whole bunch here. And my character, Jeff X, was not initially there because I was checking before the 50 seconds had gone by. But after refreshing a few times, there he was at the bottom of the list. I clicked the select character blue button there. You could see that he said eligible now. The site loaded for another 15 seconds. It seemed to take a long time in total there. And then I get to the Are You Sure screen. I click the Move Character button. It says, we're processing, just very quickly, and then I get this confirmation screen. And of course, you're only eligible if your character is still alive, so seeing him on this list was good news. I open a new client and I log back in, and you see that I'm still listed as ZG on my character screen. I have the ZG loading screen. And when I finally load in, I'm here right at the dungeon entrance, still Petried with 2 seconds left, and I'm alive. Now, the Unstuck piece of this was like optional inside a dungeon, right? In an instance, you could simply stay logged off for more than 5 minutes, and the same thing would happen. You'd be teleported back to the dungeon entrance. But using the Unstuck speeds it up for me, obviously, because I'm now able to go again right away. Of course, you can only use Unstuck every 4 hours, but hopefully you're not having these critical issues more often than that. So the other thing is an Unstuck can also be used if you're not in a dungeon and we're like in a spot in the open world where mobs are going to be on top of you, right? If you were to load back in. You could also use Unstuck if you were falling to your death, but you had Alt-F4 just before you hit the ground, and you'd be moved to a safe spot and not take the fall damage. And I'll link to another of my videos where I go into that in some detail. One word of warning. The move confirmation screen here says it moves you to the nearest graveyard and mentions that it might not be for your faction. What's not explained on this page is how it works in a dungeon, right? As I just showed, moving you back to the entrance. And that when you're in the open world, it also will move you to either the nearest graveyard or the nearest instant summoning stone. I've used this before, as I've said in another video, in the Terror Web tunnel here in EPL, and the Unstuck service moved me to the Stratholme summoning stone, which is here. So look, use this Unstuck feature as a very last resort, knowing you could potentially load into the opposite faction's graveyard and be in some trouble when you log back in, although I've never had it happen. So anyway, that is how Petri Alt-F4 Unstuck works in a real situation. Like I said, I have a couple detailed guides on here on how Petri works and how Alt-F4 and disconnect works, which I'll link in the description in here. I've also got some recent videos showing how I'm farming ZG in a semi-safe way for Bijus and coins. As always, I really appreciate you watching my videos, and thank you for clicking the like and sub, especially commenting. Hope you have a great day.